Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of Grand Final Stories. Today we're joined by the 2002 Sydney Roosters Premiership winners. They broke a 27-year drought, which is pretty incredible when you consider how they are associated with the Premiership victories in recent times. We're joined by Luke Ricketson and Anthony Minichiello. Gents, thanks for joining us.
Well done, Jimmy. Thank you, mate.
Yeah,
how are you, mate?
Take two. I'm going great, but I want to unpack this 2002 Premiership year with you both. Gone back and looked over it and done a little bit of research, and it's beat the Warriors in the grand final, which on paper won with ease, but they were the minor premiers. But going back 2002 as well, Ricky Stuart, a rookie coach at one of the biggest clubs in Sydney. Talk to us about Ricky Stuart's impact when he arrives for the pre-season of 2002.
Obviously he was a great player, and then he just coached down the 20s at the Dogs, I think, to a grand final, but I don't think he won that one, did he, Ricky? No. And then he come over to us, and mate, I remember he challenged us, about being tough and, we want to be the fittest team in the comp, and, he sort of caught us a little bit weak at stages, and he wanted to break that mould and make sure that we were the toughest and fittest, team in the Premiership. So our pre-seasons were they were just on every day. There was no sports science back then. He was just feeding into Ronnie Palmer, who was just flogging us every day. It was just running, speed, two beep tests in a row and 50-50s and stuff like that, But we had a squad that were ready to go. We had some great senior players, Rico, Freddie, Fletch, and they're all naturally fit guys. And then we had the youngsters. I was 22 at that stage, so myself, Wingy, Mick Crocker, Flannery, all these guys. That the mix was perfect for the year ahead. And I remember even every single player was getting 14 plus in the beep test, front rows included. It was out of control.
Yeah, well, I think when you said, I think he called us weak, he did call us weak.
He
was a little bit more direct than that.
And that's his opening message.
Oh, look, I think because we made the grand final in 2000 and got beaten by the Broncos. And then we had a really bad 2001. And the club had their little taste, hence that 27-year drought. They had a little taste and thought, okay, right, well, 2000, we're in a grand final. We want more of that. Failed the next year, made some drastic changes. You could imagine Ricky Stuart interviews pretty well. He walks in as a 35-year-old.
Yeah.
Recently
retired.
He's young. Yeah.
Oh, my
And he's literally just retired, had 1 year of coaching,
Yeah.
sat in front of our board at the time with Nick Politis and said, mate, I'll get these blokes tougher and harder, and I'll train them and I'll do X, Y, and Z. And he presented that in front of our board, and the board said, mate, you're the man. Go and get these guys back to a grand final. And for a bloke to actually say that over a boardroom table and deliver it was pretty amazing. And he, and that was part of his drive, right? He got there and said, right, well, look, I openly know that they call you the Cafe Latte set.
Yeah, that's it.
There's a weak underbelly at the Roosters. You got this Bondi Beach. You all get your shirts off, and those pretty boys. All this stuff that came out first meeting. So I don't want that. I don't want to coach that. He goes, that's not Ricky's style. He doesn't want to be associated with any of that sort of crap, right? So he was like, how do I get rid of that title? I'll see you at the Sandhills at Cronulla, shirts on, just all that stuff in his own head. He said, I'm just going to make the branding of this team different, and we're going to do it by hard work. Yeah, that was his message.
We're basically in the boxing ring fighting each other. No headgear. It was until Simon Benetti fractured his eye socket, and he went, well, maybe we'll pull up on that.
Maybe we back off on that. Yeah, that's it.
I'm trying to put myself in that position. Back then, when change happens, there can often be a reluctancy to change and maybe a bit of pushback. Was there any of that, or was the group ready to look to follow this new style?
We were ready. I think the attitude of all our players was we had a good attitude. We had good senior players. We had the good mix of young and experience, and we were just ready to take whatever he threw on at us. We were ready to take it on.
Yeah, look, I think it was tough at start with. I know, like Freddie, for a good example, like he he went from being a bit of a fun, good time Penrith boy coming over to the Chooks and had a bloody good time. And then he kind of switched out of that in that sort of 2000s and said, right, well, the drinking thing's not for me anymore. He's got to, got married, tried to live a quieter life. So he kind of took a different attitude. He bought into Ricky's approach, which was great for us as senior player to go, guys, no, let's follow this way. Although the training's a bit awful, I don't like it as much. But he kind of pushed us down and said, well, guys, let's just get on with it and do it and train hard. And but it was tough. I remember just doing it thinking, I didn't physically think you could go and do what we were doing. But he was going, well, okay, well, you've done that last week. Let's go a little bit further. Let's get it further. A lot of blokes burn out. I mean, there was a lot of injuries. There was training. There was contact sessions and concussions and cuts. Mick Crocker cut his face over one day at training. But it was to tape it up and get on with it, Ricky. That was his attitude. It wasn't...
There was no concussion protocols.
No, he didn't give a crap.
On.
And I think it worked. So it was good.
Well, it got you that premiership, pushing you to the nth degree, almost to breaking point. It actually got you the best defence in the competition that year. Is that something that you guys prided yourselves on?
Yeah, well, we had, because everyone was so fit, like our line speed started to develop quite well, and Rico was naturally fit with Fitzy and Moz, who they just wanted to go up and belt blokes. So because they were so fit, they can get off the line really quickly. So if those guys were getting off the line, then everyone else had to go with them. So we had this sort of rushing defence. That's what they sort of called it back then. Was the rushing defence of the Roosters just suffocates you, and we just became a great defensive unit.
I think Ricky got off on it a bit because he had this. Once again, in his head, he wanted to change the mentality of what people were thinking, and then we kind of started to kind of implement it. And then we also had Dean Pay and Johnny Cartwright.
Yeah, they were massive. Like for the forwards, they were massive.
Yeah, and once again, they were quite young as well.
Yeah.
They were recently retired, and they would like
Cement Gillespie was around a bit.
Yeah, they were part of the journey, right? And they was like, well, this is fun, this is exciting. And we sit in rooms, and I'm sure you've done a lot of that as well on a Thursday, and say, right. We'd put a team up on the board and they'd get in and say, right, well, let's gang up on him and let's attack this bloke. And, Moz would be sitting there with his eyes rolling in the back of his head. And it was kind of like it was almost looking back, it was kind of fun because we would like...
Fun to go and belt people.
Well, it was kind of like, because we knew that like, if I'm going to jump out of the line, he's coming with me and we're going to have 3 on some poor bloke and we're going to pummel him and do all that kind of stuff, get back in the line, it's on again. It was kind of... And we're never going to run out of puff doing it. And that was the kind of mentality. And we'd have, Dean Payne, these blokes giggling at the pub afterwards saying, what about we did to so-and-so and that? It was like it was a thrill, because we were loving it.
I remember always before the game, like Dean Pay and Johnny Cartwright, they would always take the forwards aside and just start revving them up. And we're outside backs, so we're catching balls and stuff, and look over there and they're like just steaming. You see Moz just blinking 1,000 times and pacing. And by the time these guys got on the field, mate, it was unbelievable.
Matt, you spoke about that old reputation of the latte drinkers. You've got Adrian Morley, right, who comes from the streets of Salford, lands in Bondi, polar opposites. Can I ask, what was he like? Even just in terms of fashion sense, you go from Manchester.
You took him for a beer the first night he arrived, didn't you?
He wasn't Bondi. He was definitely Coogee. He fit in more with the backpackers there.
Yeah.
But well, there's actually a couple of funny stories attached to it because I think he had a bit of a blue day one, a bit of a road rage incident that didn't come out. It came out 6 months later, and he ended up sort of half acknowledging it, but he didn't really want to talk too much about it. I think he got beeped in the road and got out and had a blue. Anyway, we won't talk about that. But we sort of got this big kind of those long sort of like 3/4 shorts. Really bad flip flop shoes. Big baggy Asics t-shirt kind of vibe. Like all that branded stuff. But it was just Moz sitting at pub. He's so comfortable at the pub, and it's funny with him because after about 3 weeks, he had a little posse at the front bar down there in Coogee. He made friends pretty easily. But my first quick story about Moz, just to sort of get my head around it, was like literally had an off season with him. He was only 22 or 3 at the time. He came to Australia. Well, thinking about it, what move, right?
Yeah.
To actually go and do that. But you did it, but I mean, at such a young age. So we'd always play against the Broncos in a trial. So we'd always go up and play on the outskirts in Ipswich or Rockhampton or these sorts of places and do this sort of country carnival type thing trial. So we got to trained pretty well during the week. We're playing the Broncos, we're about to jump on a plane. First thing we talk about is pack your jeans and your nice shirt. Your mouth guard and your boots is last. Don't worry about that as much. We're going to go and have a bit of a rumble up there, but it's going to be fun. We're going to have a fun night on the piss.
Yeah.
And so we get up there. We basically get strapped, I think, mouth guard in like one of those motels, and we're sort of doing that. We're all having a chit chat. Oh, mate, tonight's going to be fun. They reckon this bar down the road's a bit of humour. And so we're all doing this sort of stuff, talking about the night itself, not concentrating as much about the game, but we're playing against
Trial match.
Petro and Gordy and like Webbier. It's like they've got their full pack in. And anyway, we go out there, whistle goes. Anyway, the third tackle, I've got Moz as a back rower, I'm at lock, not a lot of line speed, just sort of trying to feel our way out there. It's a steamy night up there in Rockhampton or somewhere. Gordy's taken a hit up. Moz has come out of the line a million miles an hour. I'm going, no, don't. He's hit him and they're just basically at each other's face. He's trying to wrestle him and trying to flip him on his back, and Gordy wouldn't have it. And I was like going, oh my God. Anyway, for the rest of the game, they just ran at each other for the next 50 or 60 minutes on the and I went, mate, who's this kid we've got from Salford? Like I understand now what's going on here with this guy, this mentality of cross that line, blinky, but he wanted Gordy on day one at a trial game. And I thought, geez, we've got something wild here. And
like in pre-season training in the wrestle sessions, he would be just all calm and he would cuddle you basically and put you on the ground. And we're like, you're supposed to be the feared front row in England. Like, what's going on here? But as soon as you get him on the field, mate, he crosses that white line. It was just, beast, absolute beast.
You speak about him and Gordy, it almost like a promoter's dream.
Yeah.
That's in a trial. What was it like when they came up against each other?
I think it was complete respect. And that's another thing, looking back on the English game a bit more than the Australian game. I think when Moz did that, Moz then went, well, I've now got to keep running at him because you have your goal, I'll have my goal. It was almost this kind of like pact that let's just see where it ends up at the end of 80 minutes. And for me, that was pretty wild to see that. And Gordy, I think, really accepted that and brought that challenge on. But I think that night I stayed clear of everyone. I think I was running at halfbacks for the night. I was ready for the shirt on, which probably Ricky Stuart went, mate, get rid of that shit attitude and I'll see you at training.
Some of the other characters that go into the dressing room, you've got Bryan Fletcher in there.
Massive
obviously,
character. Yeah.
Huge character on and off the field. How was he in the group?
Oh, when these two got together, that was cool. They were hilarious. Like, so you just let them go and everyone would be around laughing their heads off the whole time. But he was a massive prankster, Fletch. He's great to be around. The dressing room, trip away, like any type of team environment, you would want Fletch there as your number one,
Well, I grew up with him. He's Bondi boy. I've known him all my life, sort of thing. So we've got associated friends. So I've sort of seen him all that behaviour. But I was only thinking about it recently about like having a mix, and you're talking about winning a grand final. It's like sort of sprinkle of, you've got to have the joker and the funny guy. You've got to have the youth, and you've got to have that really excellent talent. You've got to have just that mix that makes it right. And Fletch was almost the most perfect bloke to have as part of your squad. Total humour the whole time. Great competitor, great footballer. He brought everything with him. But and trips away and like you just want to be around him, right? It was like just the fun bloke to have around in your team. So he moulded everyone together really well.
Is there anything that stands out that we can talk about on this podcast from those early 2000 days?
Oh, Rico. I remember Brian Kennevan, he had a file on Fletch about that big. I've always missed him.
He's the CEO.
Yeah. He was a football manager.
He actually got sacked. Fletch got sacked, and then Gus Gould brought him back in during the 90s. He had his third strike, and his third strike was a funny one because he'd come out of the Leeds club drunk. He was playing reserve grade. Once again with Fletch, he never really realised his talent.
Till later.
Whereas Gus was a guy who went, what's that kid playing reserve grade for? Like, get him in this squad now and let's get serious, because he was never serious. And I think his third strike was that he went the Leeds club and there was a party on somewhere, and he came down with all their balloons wrapped around him or something and came down in the foyer like wrapped in balloons and was rolling around the floor or something stupid, got kicked out of the Leagues Club. And it was all on camera. And they said, mate, that's your third strike, you're sacked. And then Gus went, no, he's not sacked, put him in the squad. But I remember one with me, I'll never forget, we played Townsville, came back and coming through the airport, hungover, all that kind of stuff. And I was trying to get my bag off the Travelator thing. And basically he pants me. I was on the phone, bag on the shoulder, pants me. And then stood on my pants as I was trying to get them on. I'm now wedged between trying to get my pants on. He's held me over. Mate, I reckon there was 8 other flights coming in from all destinations. I'm buck naked, I reckon, for 5 minutes and just Fletch. Like today, I reckon I'd be in so much trouble today doing it. But just shit like that, mate. He just was non-stop.
He's unbelievable.
Non-stop.
I'm assuming he picks his targets because knowing Mars, I can't imagine he would have taken too well to something like that. Did they ever clash? And you speak about in the dressing room before the game, like Mars would be an easy person to rev up to get those dials working.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing before Moz came over, because I think Fletch played for Australia against England.
Yes.
That off season, and then Moz came over, and Fletch came back and said, "Look what he's done." Fletch had a big broken nose, and Moz just broken his nose. So they had a funny first moment together and giggled about it. No, I think Moz just loved Fletcher's humour.
They got along.
There's a bit of Aussie in Moz in a lot of ways because I mean it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, the humour's a little bit different. I suppose you probably came in and said these guys are a bit different in the way they carry on, and Moz was so in tune with our stupidity and our humour and just all the crap that we came out. He found it funnier than anyone, I think.
Yeah, he loved it.
The season kicks off. You win your first game, but then remarkably, you go on a 4-game losing streak, which is hard to bounce back from at the best of times. But you've got this rookie coach as well, and they say you've not coached until, I think there's an old saying, you've not coached until you've lost 4 games in a row. Well, he experiences that 5 games into his career.
Yeah, there was a bit of pressure on with the media and stuff. And I remember after the 4 losses in a row, I don't remember this, Rico, Monday night we get to Wentworth Park and he goes, put the boots away, boys. Just get your civvies on, put the phones in your backpacks. We're getting on the piss. We're getting on the drink.
After 4 losses?
Monday night.
This is the
after the 4 losses, we've lost 4 in a row. We get on a ferry. We go over to Manly, to the Stain Hotel, and we're all drinking beers and we're having a great time, and everyone's getting together. And I remember someone in the pub walked past, and it was a Roosters fan. He goes, "Mate, this is a disgrace. I'm a Roosters fan. You've lost 4 in a row, and it's Monday night, and all you boys are on the drink." Anyway, Ricky just stood up and went, "Mate, you can F off, mate. Beat it, right?" And everyone was like, "Yeah, Ricky." He had our back straight away, and we were all like, "How good's that?" And we had a great night. And then remember Moz, we almost missed the last ferry back, which was at midnight or whatever it was. And Moz jumped this little fence to get to the ferry, pulled his hamstring, so he missed that following game. So he was out for a couple of weeks. But we went on
jumping over the fence.
Jumped over the fence and tore his hemi. So then we went on a little bit of a streak.
Not ideal.
But that sort of moment there, I remember Ricky just standing up for all the players and told this Roosters fan to beat it and get out of here. And I remember everyone just went, "Mate,
he's in.
We're in. Like, we're all in here." And we went on a bit of a run after that. That was a pretty funny story. Yeah.
What do you remember from those 4 losses? Or
I certainly remember that night. I remember doing that. Yeah, I think Ricky, it's funny because you're right with the coaching point of view, and I sort of look back thinking as a 35-year-old trying to control that and understand it. And I think he realised how hard we were working, and he just didn't get the combinations right, and it was actually good for him to kind of understand as a footballer that things might take time. But I couldn't imagine the pressure we would have been getting internally, right? Because the club was there for success. So with 2000... Mate, fix it in 2002, Rick. It's on you.
And you've made that pitch to the board like you spoke about.
He's on me. I'll do it. Yeah. I'll get this done for you. And he must have been going, we can't get him on board. So, but yeah, no. I can't remember the losses. My memory's not as good on those, but I don't know whether they were bad losses or not. But I know we just couldn't get it right, which is clunky.
I think we went on
very
a run, a
clunky.
little bit of a run after that. But then we had another few losses later in the season, and that Broncos game changed everything up in Brisbane, where I think Hodjo had a great game, and we sort of sparked back into form, and that was towards the end of the season. Remember, that's the first game that we wore all white. So because the gear guy stuffed up the shorts and socks, so we had white jersey, white shorts, white socks.
It looked awful.
Oh, and there was
I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it. All white.
Supposed to be
it's supposed to be blue. Yeah, it's supposed to be blue.
Right.
But we went on this run, and we wore that in the grand final. It was all white.
It
Yeah.
just
We kept it on. Yeah. So
that one error from the...
that was at the end of the season. That one error, then they were like, we sparked in the form. Like, we have to keep that kit consistent. So that's what happened.
That's brilliant. Because I've seen footage of that grand final.
Oh, white.
And it does look a bit strange.
Yeah, it's all white. It's weird.
Like,
'Cause the blue shorts do offset the actual red, white, and blue, right? That's what you're meant to wear. But we're just all white. It's just
that's
what kit.
There's
Anyway.
the explanation. We often talk about with great teams that the leadership qualities. Brad Fittler is your captain. How was he as a leader, especially during those difficult moments?
He was brilliant. I think whatever snapped with Freddie, whatever had happened pretty dramatic. And obviously, we've all seen Freddie through the early years and where he was, but he just became this really attention to detail guy.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, we'd be doing drills and Freddie would almost stop a session and say, like, that's not good enough. Like, I told you get round the cone. If you don't get round the cone,
he was massive on that.
You
Hit the line, get round the cone.
Yeah, put your foot on the line.
Yeah.
What do you do? Like, it was just kind of him pulling us up everywhere.
Like
and then,
standards. This is
mate,
a new standard.
Brutal.
Is this...
And then what we did, it was another funny part of the season because we had this kind of idea about this rush defence and doing it. So then it was like, if we're going to do that, then let's be disciplined in it. So that was a part of that. And then also he said, right, well, from kickoffs, I'll
Get back
kick the
10
ball
metres.
off, come back with me all the way to the 10 metres back. When I put my hand up, we're all going to run with me and I'm going to kick the ball on the line. So when the ball gets kicked, you're basically running. I want your full pelt.
Yeah.
And whoever gets that ball is going to get pummeled. And we would practice that at training 20 times. And if anyone got it wrong, Freddie would say, no, do it again, do it again, do it again. So we had this sort of really particular, he became really particular about things. And it was all about attention to detail, fitness, not late, early, and had all these things that we just drove us. It was incredible.
You'd always get on the field half an hour before training. You'd always be out on field, always 30 minutes before.
So he was demanding the standards, but he was also living the standards as well.
And then everyone else started to do the same. So we're doing our warm up and practicing certain things that you wanted to practice 30 minutes before. Then training got started. Then Rick, I was saying, mate, if you didn't hit the line on certain drills, he'll be yelling and screaming at you, do it again, get around the cone, all that type of stuff. He was driving.
But he also had like another, because there was another big part of what we were doing that year was obviously, train, play, and then party a bit hard too, right? So we had the mentality of, having a good time. We had the Charing Cross Hotel just down the road here, and we basically had the keys to the pub, right? So basically, Ricky loved it as much as anyone, right?
Yeah.
So we would go back there, almost a little bit last man standing, just shut the door on the way out, But Freddie had kind of realised it wasn't for him anymore. He didn't want to be around all the kids drinking and sort of partying and doing things. It was a bit beyond him. So he would kind of like pull us aside and say, boys, enjoy your night. But, and he'd sort of come over to us guys and really kind of frown upon a bit of silly behaviour sort of thing. I was like, okay, Fred, no worries. Look after the boys and I'm going. So he'd leave at 9 o'clock. Freddie would never stay out with us. He just went, not for me, but just behave yourself and give us little uppercuts on the way through. And it's pretty hard to do that with Fletch and Moz. And
thanks for leaving, mate.
It would be hard. And we were sort of ducking and weaving, but Fred would look you on a Monday.
Freddie said, stop, treat lads, come on.
It's hard. And Freddie would look you on a Monday and, sorry, mate. We were a bit late,
Was he looked up to by the younger players?
100%.
Did you have him in a real
big
high
time.
regard?
Yeah, totally. We had a little crew of, 22, 21, like Wingy, myself, Crocker, Flannery. Who else was young?
Shannon
Haggerty. was in sort of that youngish group. So we were like ready to do anything. Whatever Freddie said, we're ready to go, you know. So he was definitely held in high regard.
Yeah. So as the season is progressing, it's a real tight race at the top. You know, I think there was 2 points separating 1 to 5. 27 years since the last premiership. You know, you see Nick Politis now and how influential he is, and he's around the group. Was there a pressure from up top to get this win?
It's probably different answers here, because I was young. I didn't really feel the pressure of the 27 years. You know, I my first year was 2000. I made a grand final. The next year we bundled out in the first semi-final, and then now we're trying to have a crack at another premiership. So for me, I didn't feel the pressure of the 27 years, but Rico had played first grade a lot longer than me, so he probably felt a little bit more.
Yeah, I came in 1991 into a very amateur Roosters that had no intention. We were playing against like the Raiders and the Panthers and Broncos, full professional teams with a complete star-studded lineup. We were just in a team, we were cellar dwellers the whole way through. And I joked about it. We'd go to functions, and every function you just see this black and white footage of the 1975 grand final. Every function, I'd be there going, looking at Arthur Beetson again, and just be going, oh my, they're just drilling it down your throat. But it was just so long ago, right? It just kept going. 95, 96, 97, just same thing, same function. So 2000 came around, and Thursday night before the grand final, we do a ticker tape parade in Bondi Junction.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we were like in the streets, almost like going, yes, you know, how good's this? And I was like this kid from Bondi going, mate, well, this is as good as it's going to get, right? I'm doing a ticker tape parade 3 days before a grand final, getting slapped on the back. So that was kind of the energy of the Roosters back then, but then it was the taste. As soon as the taste came, as we are today, sitting here, mate, we've got people like Nick and that don't like losing anymore. They got this. Everyone got the taste for it, and they want more of it. And we were happy to be kind of started the run. We were a part of that, which was good.
In terms of that final series itself, it was the old system. You played the Sharks first game, 4th v 5th.
Yep.
And then like the run in finals, you beat 5th, which was the Sharks, Newcastle, who finished 2nd, the Broncos finished 3rd, and then the Warriors, who were minor premiers in the grand final. Do you remember much about those games against the Sharks, the Knights or the Broncos in particular that got you to the GF?
I remember a little bit about the Sharks, but I remember the Broncos game. It was at Allianz here, and that was a real tight tussle. I can't remember the score, maybe 12-10, or it was close, but that was real intense. To get through. And I remember the feeling once we got through, it was completely different. Like in 2000, it was my first year. I just turned 20. You know, to make the grand final, we were celebrating like we won. Like, you know, like we went out all night and everything. But the 2002, once we beat the Broncos, like it was like, okay, mate, there's one more game to go here. Like we're not going to celebrate too early. We knew there was a bigger task ahead. So it was a different feeling for me. For sure that year, but I remember that Broncos game. That was real intense.
I can't remember all of them. I know I did my hamstring, so I stupidly. I stupidly in 2000, the game before, I did my hamstring pretty badly. I played in that grand final, and I did it again in the semi-final. Yeah, pretty much the same injury, same hamstring. Never had an injury like that ever.
It's all about before Luke's leg all week.
And then I had to leave that game, and then. Go through the hyperbaric stuff again and just did 24-hour stuff and trying to get ready for the grand final. And my story was that I had sort of I think Johnny Cartwright pulled me aside, I think 3 days before, and said, mate, Dean Pay, he said, mate, I reckon he'll pull out. And he said, look at you, mate. I just don't think. I said, maybe give me another day. So I basically was pulling out of that grand final 2002. Thank God I didn't. And then it was basically the day of the game. I went down to Coogee Oval. I had David Kidwell. Yeah. Who was a pretty good bloke to kind of throw me around a bit. And they said, look, okay, with Ronnie Palmer, I said, what we're going to do. You're going to test this thing. If it snaps, so what? You know, like you can't help it. So he said, I need you to run 100 mile an hour, do that 10 times back to back, And then he said, David Kidwell, you're going to have to tackle him. He's going to run as hard as he can a couple of times. You're going to have to just do it. And, mate, literally, because Chad Robinson, God rest his soul, he was basically playing the grand final. He had his kit ready, told his parents they were coming down, the whole thing. I was out. And I got through it. I went...
This on grand final morning of the grand final.
Final.
And it was an afternoon game as well.
Yeah. No, the 2002 grand final.
Yeah, but
that was a night game.
That was a night game. Yeah, right. Okay.
2000 was an Arvo game.
Right. So,
I didn't
you literally wake up, have breakfast, and go and do this full-on fitness
test challenge and do it. And
not fitness test, a challenge.
Do a challenge. And I might have gone 95%.
Yeah, I would have done the same.
And I remember, I think Dean Pay was desperately just to say, mate, don't even risk it. Like, just, mate, it's a big night. Don't even do it. And I went, and then Ronnie Palmer put me aside and said, mate, you're good.
Ronnie, Mr. Positive, mate. He was the man.
He said, you're good.
The man.
I said, you're right. I am good. And then I remember going back to the team and with finishing breakfast, I said, I'm in, beauty. And I sort of did all that and I went through it. And then I went back to the physio table and tried to have a rest in the afternoon and then ended up playing, thank God. But I was used, I think, first 20 minutes, last 20 minutes. That was it. So thank God I didn't have to play the full 80.
Yeah. In terms of the grand final itself against the Warriors.
Yeah. Oh, mate, they were a gun team that year. Like, Stacey Jones just running the show. Ali Lautiti with his offloads. He was, like, on fire that year. I remember he was their, left back row, what it was. And I think it was one of the best back rows in the world at the time. They had big wingers.
Kevin Campion, Ivan Cleary.
Ivan Cleary, that's right.
Ivan Cleary's
experience. It was his last game,
Hard to think about that, like him as the player.
I know.
What he's achieved as a coach.
I know.
But we had that attitude of just if we keep the pressure on, teams will crack. And at half time the game was on. It was on.
I think it was 8-6.
Yeah,
8-6. You guys were up at half time. Yeah.
And then Stacey Jones scores after he scores that try. They had a bit of wind in their sails. And then, the Moz thing or the Freddie, Villasani hitting Freddie and Moz just going, that's it. No, I'm not having that. And Freddie kicks that 40-20.
Can you talk to us about that incident?
So obviously Freddie, it's last tackle. Freddie's going for a kick and Villasani comes flying out of the line and sort of tackles him but headbutts him and splits Freddie's eye. And Freddie's bleeding and half concussed on the ground and the play gets pulled up and Moz just went, mate, no, none of that crap. And I think 3 or 4 plays later, Stacey Jones puts him on a cross and Moz just comes flying out of line, just flattens him and gets him back for it. And then I think our next set, we get down to the 4th tackle or whatever it was, and Freddie kicks a 40-20. Fitzy scores a try, and then we just roll on. We just score try after try and win the game.
That feeling, how was it?
It was relief. I remember, with like 10 to go, I think even with Fletch scores,
Fletch
it's over and we're sort of jumping on each other. And, Freddie did that great thing where he came back to the crowd with his hands in the air. It was like this, for me, it was complete relief. Like, just actually being at this joint since I was a baby and all the way through. Thinking we can get rid of that 75 video. Thank God.
Let's update that.
Of all the things that motivate someone to get rid of that video, that's brilliant.
It's black and white thing. Yeah. It's just, what's going on? And so it was just relief. I just remember sitting in the sheds afterwards, just like it was euphoric, right? You've been there, you know how it works. And it was, and I remember there's a funny moment actually for me. I remember getting on a back to the City Football Stadium. We got on a double-decker bus, took us to Bondi Junction. We got on the top of this double-decker bus. I remember just sitting there screaming, I just won a grand final, Like it all came to me like a million miles an hour just sitting on this bus. Then you had Fletch getting champagne, trying to spray people the way down. Watch this. And,
wait, who was on the top? Who was on the bottom?
Oh no! Everyone. Once we got into Bondi Junction, everyone went up the top, which was there was no roof and the champagne everywhere. The streets were lined with people.
He was trying to pop corks on people. I think, you're an idiot. I just relax and enjoy it. Like I mean,
yes. But like, was there any relaxing with him? Like, could he actually sit there and toast and be like, "Well done, boys"? Or he's just like, right, what can I do?
Yeah.
How can I hit someone with a cork?
What's next? Like,
always. That's how his mind works. It's always what's next.
Funny stuff.
I'm assuming you don't just get back to the Leagues Club after the open top bus and it ends. Go for it.
Basically, it was a 6-week drink. I was young, so I was out for literally 6 weeks, and I can't remember. I ended up was so run down in the first day of preseason. I ended up getting chicken pox for some reason. I'm missing on 2 weeks of training
the following year.
Yeah, for preseason the following year.
How did the immune system that?
Yeah. Oh, like we had a great trip away as well, and another great man, Paul Green, God rest his soul as well. He was in our team that year but got injured. So Wingy come in the halfback. He organised our whole trip away. So we went Townsville and Ellie Beach, and like most of the squad was there.
Oh, so it was a full.
It was a great trip.
We're all in.
Yeah, it was a tour. It was a bit of a tour.
Bit of a tour.
But we had just back to that whole grand final thing. Obviously, Leagues Club was fantastic, did all that kind of stuff. But I lived in Clovelly. I had my pad single at the time, and my house was a bit of a free for all. There was a
open door.
There was a key that would sit in a footy boot. Like if you wanted to stay, you wanted to stay. I housed a lot of blokes over the years. I had Justin Hodges lived with me for a few months, Minnie and a few people on the way through. And of course, the after party was at my joint, so everyone sort of rocked in at about sort of 5 or 6 in the morning, and I had everyone from even Johnny Cartwright came back. No one had slept. We had them all back there till about midday, and then we went to the Mill Hill.
Oh, Mill Hill
Hotel down the road here. So we all rocked down there. And the funniest thing, I never forget being down there. It was a bunch of blokes, and we were obviously exhausted. And the cameras came in because Fitzy made the Australian team.
Yes, that's
we said,
right.
Yeah, come in.
Yeah.
It was the stupidest thing in the world. Poor Fitzy's doing
like
his first ever interview in front of a camera. He hadn't slept, and just sort of like, it was just wonderful to play for the Australians. And we're in the back mocking him, going, you would never allow that today, but we it was funny anyway. We had camera crews and all that in there doing interviews and things, and we stayed there all night as long as we could. And good
times.
Good time.
How was Ricky Stuart with it all? Like 35-year-old rookie coach.
Yeah, pretty amazing. When you like first year in first grade, 35, like it's an amazing feat to do that. Like he was over the moon. He loved a beer more than anyone. So he was out there with all of us, coaching staffs, all the coaching staff included, having beers and having a good time. But when preseason come around again for 203, we've got to go harder.
There's actually good footage of Stick, and it came up recently. When he walks on the ground, the final whistle goes. I think at one stage he picks me up at some stage, but he's just he's really like there's no emotion sort of thing. I think he walked out. And he wasn't punching the air. He walked out in the ground, and that was him for ages. I think he really took the whole thing in, obviously being a grand final winner. But I think the moment for him was pretty real. And you probably look at it now, and he's had a couple of opportunities, but they don't come around that often, do they?
Pretty hard.
So what a cherishing moment for him to sort of do that. And I remember him taking it in. He wasn't screaming and yelling or anything like that. It was pretty pan-faced and just took it on.
You mentioned that the following year a harder pre-season. I guess when you look at the star-studded team that the Roosters were, and obviously we all look back and think if only we'd have won that game, but is there a reason why that team didn't put a dynasty together? Obviously very close a couple of seasons after.
Yeah, look, we had obviously 2003 we were the favourites to win the premiership, and I don't think we won the minor premiership. I think the Panthers won the minor premiership that year, but we had a great tussle with those guys through the year. We probably should have went on to win 03 or 04, but I think 03, I think we're a little bit outplayed. I think we played our game too early. I think we're all a little bit tense. This is looking back now. Hindsight's it's a wonderful thing, right? We're probably bit too intense, even at the grand final breakfast, where if you look back now, the Panthers were pretty relaxed. It's funny, and their build up was timed, I think, a little bit better than ours.
It's funny because we had a couple of the ex-Panther players in, and they spoke about that grand final breakfast and how they were very relaxed, and they saw we could have played that day, suited and booted, ready to go.
We were ready to go that day. We're probably a little bit too early. A couple of days too early. But I think they sort of outplayed us. But we had our opportunities in that game to actually execute properly. And there's a couple of things that we didn't execute. If we did execute them properly, we would have come over the top of them. And then 04, the great man Rico was out, punched someone out the week before.
Did you get suspended for that?
He got suspended, yeah. So that was a huge loss. All that stuff around the middle of the ruck and the stuff that Rico did was a massive loss for us. And, we don't score a point in the second half. We're up 13-6 at half time. And our second half wasn't a positive second half. We decided to defend our lead, and you can't do that. Yeah.
I reckon 2003 was our better team, better year. I thought that we're at our peak through that year, and that was a really disappointing loss for me. I thought I was really hurt by that one. I had that great opportunity the year before. But one thing with Ricky, we went in that pre-season and we did go harder. We went from being probably at that stage fitness, and he pushed us another level in 2003, and we were flying, and I felt so ready for another competition, another win. But back to that particular game, it rained and got wet, and it was a bit wet underfoot. This sounds really stupid, me sort of talking about these little things, but I remember after about 25 minutes being exhausted, I was tired, and I remember throughout the game looking around at the line, and I think we were all just, I think we just might have been a bit, we didn't probably recover as much maybe through those finals. We were tense, we were exhausted, and I don't think I've ever felt tighter in a game for some reason on that particular night. We just, pull a tour on these guys running at you like all night. I remember just getting up a few times, sort of laying in the play the ball, things that we never did. Yeah. I'm in the play the ball still just laying there going, I can't get up, which was not good. But they got us on that. They got us on that kind of, that part of the game, which was our forte, which I look back on. Then we went away with Ryan Girdler and all those guys on a tour, and Girds goes, mate, we knew we got to training that week, grand final, because we knew we'd beat you. I said, how did you, mate, we were on fire. Like, how did you? He goes, no, we just knew. We all as a group just said, we'll get these blokes. And I thought they knew something we didn't, and we played that way accordingly. So they were right, and they targeted us, and we were tired, and we played that way. And it was a shit loss.
Another funny story, 04, because we used to stay at, remember the Ezron? We used to be in camp every week at the Ezron at Randwick, just this little motel there. And we had Chris Walker in our side. It's quite a funny bloke. And as Rico mentioned, in 03, it sort of rained a little bit in the morning. It made things a bit difficult. Anyway, 04 rolls around, and the morning of the grand final, we open the curtains up, and same thing has happened. Rained a bit. Walks just throws his hands up and goes, "That's it. We're fucked tonight." Because it happened last year. Right, so
the rain's back.
We're done. He put it in his head that he's done.
Oh, God. Oh, dude.
So, yeah.
That was one of the personalities you had.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? You guys have mentioned that old school approach about work hard, play hard, drink hard, and then you mentioned it was before the days of sports science. Now, I've heard rumours around if you lost badly, the next day was conditioning. Is this a correct?
Well, it all depends on, like, so Ricky. I reckon Ricky's the most competitive guy I've ever met.
Yeah,
like, he hates losing.
Yeah,
which is a strength and a weakness sometimes as well. But if we had a loss and Chris Walker's having a joke or someone had cracked a laugh, mate, he was all over it. That's it. We're training tomorrow. We're on. it's like he was a real feeling guy. Or if he had a bad week at home, he'll come in and take it out on us, which is funny, right? It's funny, but like so one time, I think we had a loss Friday night. Anyway, so we decided to fly to Gold Coast Saturday morning. Myself, Finchy, Chris Walker, chasing some party up there, right? Yeah. So we ended up having a big night, just flying home Sunday, which is fine. We had training Monday. But Ricky finds out, mate, we had one of the hardest sessions on that Monday. It was like up rower,
just you
on
guys
field.
Or everybody?
No, everyone. He punished everyone. It always punished everyone.
It was never just,
always punished
it was
everyone.
all in.
So do you remember that time where we had a big night and Ricky found out they were out Sunday night and it was Monday training and that's it. 4 in 5, so 4 laps in 5 minutes, right? Which is, all doable for us. But we had a couple of boys in that team in the squad that would struggle. He made us do 2 of them, but Chris Walker wasn't there. I was like, where the hell's Chris Walker, mate? You should be here. He had this Monaro, right? Silver Monaro. He comes steaming in at Wentworth Park, turns it off and starts running. He had one boot on, one barefoot, and he just joins the 4 and 5. Right? He joins the 4 and 5 and he just sprints the whole way and finishes first. And then some of the bigger forwards, edge forwards, the younger guys didn't make it. And he's into them. Going, and I remember Rico goes, shut the F up, Walks. This is the reason why we're doing this. It's because of you.
He's an idiot. An idiot.
That
He
is
was
brilliant.
hilarious.
Just final thoughts, lads, on the year that was 2002 Mini. I'll let you go.
Wonderful memories. We had our 20-year reunion the other year, and it was just unbelievable. Like, everyone was there. Moz come out for England for 4 days. He just drank for 4 days, mate. He was it was
like the weekend of Bernie's at the end of it. He was just like that. Stop drinking. Like, oh, shut.
It was, that's, this is when you win a premiership, you're bonded for life, right? So you get to catch up and we have our chats on WhatsApp and we're continually always speaking to each other. It's great.
Final thoughts?
Oh, yeah, fantastic. I'm just so glad that we had that opportunity to win a grand final. I think, when you play a career, I feel sorry, Hindy, for those that just don't get that opportunity to feel that feeling, right? And it's just amazing. And for me personally, I'd been at a club for a long time that hadn't had success. So to actually do that with a club that I was with all my life, which was great. Wish we won more of them, but it was awesome. Fantastic.
All right, gents, thank you so much. There's so much gold, both in the serious football element, but the off-field stuff as well. Thank you both for joining us here at the Byron and sharing those memories from
Cheers, Jimmy.
2002.
All good,
Thanks,
mate.
boys.
Good on you, mate. Thank you.